The smell of charcoal still makes my stomach churn. It used to be the scent of summer, of easy Saturday afternoons at Phil's, of Emma laughing. Now, it's just a reminder of everything I've lost. Phil. Bless his clueless, well-meaning heart. He practically dragged me to that BBQ in 2018. I'd been a miserable, shut-in mess since my breakup with Sarah, a toxic roller coaster that left me emotionally drained and vowing to swear off women forever. I wanted nothing more than to wallow in my own self-pity, surrounded by empty pizza boxes and reruns of The Office. Come on, Liam, you need to get out. I'm setting you up with someone, Phil had insisted, his voice booming through the phone. She's great, man, really down to earth. I resisted. God, how I resisted. But Phil's persistence was legendary. He's the kind of guy who just wears you down with relentless optimism until you cave. Fine, I'd go. One beer, a polite conversation, and then I'd make my escape. Then I saw her. Emma! She was by the makeshift buffet table, helping Phil's girlfriend, Chloe, arrange the potato salad and burger toppings. The sunlight caught in her hair, making it glow like spun gold. She was wearing a simple blue sundress, nothing flashy, but she looked real. Not like the plastic perfect Barbie dolls Phil usually tried to foist on me. She was laughing, a genuine, unrestrained laugh that reached her eyes, crinkling the corners. That's when it happened. That stupid, cliché, earth-shattering click. I felt this jolt, this undeniable pull that I hadn't felt in, well, ever. I wanted to know everything about her, hear her stories, make her laugh. I sidled up, trying to play it cool, but I'm sure I looked like a bumbling idiot. Hey, I managed, my voice sounding way too high-pitched. She turned, and her smile widened. Hi, she said, and just like that, the world tilted on its axis. We bonded over our mutual hatred of BBQ chicken. A truly bizarre conversation starter. I know, but it worked. We talked for hours. About our jobs, her as a pediatric nurse, me in it. About our families, our dreams, our fears. It was effortless, natural, like we'd known each other our entire lives. She got my stupid jokes. I adored her quirky sense of humor. We even shared a guilty pleasure for 90 Day Fiancé, which, let's be honest, is a testament to our compatibility right there. 2 weeks later, we were officially dating, and it was bliss, pure, unadulterated bliss. Emma was everything I'd ever wanted, everything I didn't even know I needed. She was smart, compassionate, and beautiful inside and out. She challenged me, supported me, and made me want to be a better man. Cheesy, I know, but it was true. We didn't have the dramatic fights, the trust issues, the constant back and forth bullshit that plagues so many relationships. We communicated. We compromised. We actually liked each other. My friends teased me, called me whipped, but I didn't care. I was happy, genuinely, deeply happy. Last year, I proposed. We were hiking in the mountains, overlooking this breathtaking vista. I was a nervous wreck, fumbling with the ring box, almost dropping the damn thing off a cliff. But when I finally managed to get the words out, her face lit up. She said yes, tears streaming down her cheeks, laughing and crying at the same time. It was perfect. The wedding. Oh God, the wedding. It was held at this historic vineyard an hour outside the city. Ridiculously expensive, but Emma had always dreamed of getting married there. Seeing her face when we booked it made it worth every penny. The day was magical. The vineyard looked stunning, draped in twinkling lights and overflowing with flowers. Emma was radiant, absolutely radiant. I remember standing at the altar, watching her walk towards me, and feeling this overwhelming surge of love and gratitude. This woman is choosing me. We danced, we laughed, we celebrated with our friends and family. We made plans to travel, to buy a house, to start a family. Emma even had names picked out. She wanted to name our son after her grandfather, which I thought was sweet. Everything felt solid. Secure! Like we were building something that would last forever. If someone had told me that night what was about to happen, I would have laughed in their face. Impossible! We were unbreakable. Weren't we? 2 months after our honeymoon in Greece, Santorini, a freaking fairy tale, my world imploded. It was a Friday night. I was home, grilling these insanely expensive, dry-aged ribeyes I'd gotten from a bougie butcher shop downtown. $60 a steak. Emma loved a good steak, and I wanted to surprise her after her hellish week at the hospital. She was supposed to be home by 6, but she texted saying she was grabbing coffee with Ashley, her best friend from college. Ashley, just the name makes my blood pressure spike. She's the perpetually single friend who thrives on drama, the one who's always stirring the pot and then acting innocent when it boils over. She was Emma's best friend, so I'd always tried to be civil, but God, I hated that woman. By 8:30, the steaks were getting cold. I was getting hungry and, honestly, a little annoyed, but I figured they were just catching up. Girl talk. Emma finally walked in around 9, and the moment I saw her face, I knew. Something was horribly, irrevocably wrong. She had this look, like she had to deliver terrible news to a grieving family at the hospital. She didn't even notice the elaborate dinner setup. She just said, in this low, serious voice I'd never heard before, "We need to talk." My first thought? Pregnant. Maybe the honeymoon had been more fruitful than we'd realized. We'd talked about waiting, but accidents happen. And honestly, I wouldn't have been entirely unhappy. But what she said next, it was worse than any unexpected baby. She sat down at the kitchen island, her hands trembling, and told me about Mark, her ex-boyfriend, the one she'd dated for 3 years in college. They'd been serious, I knew that much. Emma didn't talk about him often, but I knew they'd broken up because he'd taken a job across the country and neither of them wanted to do long distance. Apparently, Ashley had run into Mark's brother at the gym earlier that week. Mark had stage 4 glioblastoma, the worst kind, terminal. Doctors gave him 6 months, tops. Emma had found out through Ashley and had apparently been texting with Mark ever since. She showed me the messages, dozens of them, going back and forth about his diagnosis, his treatment options, memories from their college days. While I was out dropping a small fortune on fancy steaks, my wife was having deep, emotional conversations with her dying ex. The texts weren't even overtly inappropriate. Just intimate. Lots of, "I never forgot about you," and "you were such an important part of my life" type stuff. The kind of conversations you definitely shouldn't be having with an ex when you're married. Then she dropped the bomb. Mark's dying wish was to spend his last months with her. Apparently, facing death had made him realize she was the one that got away. Some Hallmark movie bullshit. And Emma told me she felt like she had to do it. Like it was some kind of test from the universe. Ashley, of course, had been encouraging this whole thing, telling Emma it was fate, that she'd regret it forever if she didn't go to him in his time of need, that sometimes life gives you second chances. Real helpful, Ashley. Thanks for the marriage advice. I just sat there, numb, staring at the steaks getting colder by the minute. My wife of 3 months was telling me she needed to go be with her dying ex. The same wife who'd been planning our future together just weeks ago, who still had a suitcase in our bedroom that wasn't even fully unpacked from our honeymoon. The thing that really twisted the knife was how Emma was talking about it, like it was some kind of noble sacrifice. Mark has no one else, she kept saying. His family is all on the East Coast. Convenient, right? He's alone, facing death, and only Emma could care. What about me? I wanted to scream. What about your husband, the one you literally just promised to spend your life with? I asked her, straight up, if she still had feelings for Mark. She started crying. Emma's a crier. Usually, I found it endearing, but at that moment, it just pissed me off. She said it wasn't about that this was bigger than our relationship, that Ashley had helped her see this was something she needed to do to be able to live with herself. Oh yeah, let's talk about Ashley for a minute. This girl has been a thorn in my side since day one. She's the type who posts inspirational quotes about following your heart on Instagram but can't keep a relationship longer than 3 months. According to Emma, Ashley was the one who really pushed her into this. Set up a chance meeting with Mark at their usual coffee spot, and feeding Emma all this spiritual mumbo-jumbo about how the universe brings people back into our lives for a reason, and first loves are often meant to be last. Just pure, poisonous, toxic nonsense. I tried to be rational, asked Emma if she'd seen any medical records, if she'd talked to his doctors, if she'd even verified the diagnosis with his family. She got defensive, said she couldn't believe I was questioning something like this, that the Mark she knew would never lie about something so serious. The Mark she knew. Those words echoed in my head like a death knell. The most infuriating part? She actually expected me to be understanding, like I should just be cool with my wife leaving me to go play nurse for her dying ex-boyfriend. She even suggested we could take a break while she helped Mark through his final journey. Her exact words. I kid you not. I lost it. Told her marriage doesn't have a pause button. That she couldn't just put our life on hold while she went to fulfill some dying guy's romantic fantasy. Asked her how she'd feel if I left her for an ex who was dying. She said that was different, but couldn't explain how. The conversation went in circles for hours. Emma kept talking about karma and doing the right thing. I kept trying to make her see how insane this whole situation was. At one point, she actually said, "If you really love me, you'll understand why I need to do this." Classic manipulation. Straight from the Ashley playbook. Finally, around 2 in the morning, I'd had enough. Told her she needed to make a choice, right then and there. If she walked out that door to be with Mark, we were done. No breaks. No temporary separations. No coming back when she was finished playing Florence Nightingale. Done. She looked at me like I was the one being unreasonable. Started talking about how life isn't black and white, and sometimes we have to make hard choices. I cut her off. Actually, this choice is pretty black and white. Either you're my wife or you're not. The way she looked at me then, I'll never forget it. This mixture of disappointment and resignation. Like I was the one failing some kind of test. She said she needed time to think, grabbed her purse and left. To stay at Ashley's, of course. The sound of the door closing behind her was like a gunshot. I didn't sleep at all that night. Just sat in our kitchen, staring at those stupid, expensive steaks, wondering how my life had turned into this ridiculous, unbelievable drama, checking my phone every 5 minutes, hoping she'd come to her senses. She didn't. Things moved fast after that. Too fast. Emma stayed at Ashley's for a few days, barely responding to my texts. I was going through hell. Couldn't eat, couldn't sleep. Just kept replaying everything in my head, trying to figure out where I went wrong. Was I not attentive enough? Not romantic enough? Had I somehow driven her into Mark's arms without even realizing it? Phil came over with pizza. Bless him. When I told him what was happening, he was stunned. We'd all hung out together so many times. Double dated, gone on group vacations. Emma had always seemed so normal. Not the type to pull this kind of stunt. Then, about a week after she left, I got the text. The long, rambling, self-justifying text that would forever be etched in my memory. She'd done a lot of thinking, she wrote, and decided she had to follow her heart. Gag! She was moving in with Mark to help him through his final months. She actually wrote that she hoped I could find it in my heart to understand, and maybe we could revisit our relationship after Mark passed. Like I was just going to sit around, twiddling my thumbs, waiting to be her backup plan. The next day, I got an email from her lawyer. An email, not even a phone call. She wanted a divorce and was hoping we could handle this amicably. I'll never forget sitting at my desk at work, staring at that email, feeling like I'd been punched in the gut. Had to tell my boss I was sick and went home. The betrayal, the utter, complete disregard for our vows, the casual cruelty of it all. It was almost too much to bear. Some of our friends actually took her side, said I was being heartless and unsupportive. Rachel, who I thought was my friend first, actually told me I should be proud of Emma for being so selfless. Proud that my wife was leaving me for her ex? What kind of twisted logic is that? I remember one excruciating dinner with our couple friends. They tried to convince me to see it from Emma's perspective. Said, "How would you feel if you knew you could give someone comfort in their final months but chose not to?" I straight up asked them if either of them would leave their spouse for a dying ex. They got real quiet after that. The worst part was everyone treating me like I was some kind of villain for not being okay with this. Like I was the bad guy for expecting my wife to actually honor our marriage vows. Even Emma's sister, Lisa, who'd always been cool with me, started posting these vague Facebook statuses about how true love means supporting each other's difficult choices. Or some bullshit like that. When Emma's lawyer sent over the divorce papers, I got my own lawyer. A real shark! My brother recommended her. I wasn't about to get screwed over twice. Emma apparently expected me to move out of our house, which I'd paid 70% of the down payment for. By the way, I told her she could buy me out if she wanted to, but I wasn't going anywhere. She seemed shocked that I wasn't just rolling over and giving her what she wanted. I think she expected me to be understanding about this whole thing right up until the end. The day she came to get her stuff was brutal. Ashley came with her, of course, and kept giving me these dirty looks like I was the villain in this story. They took 3 hours packing up Emma's things. Every time they walked past me with another box, Ashley would make these little huffing noises. I just sat on the couch, drinking beer and watching football, refusing to help. Emma tried to take Max. Max, our lab mix. We'd adopted him 2 years ago. He was my best friend, my furry shadow, the one constant source of unconditional love in my life. That was the one time I really lost my cool. Told her there was no way in hell she was taking my dog to go live with her and her dying boyfriend. She started crying about how she needed emotional support during this difficult time. I just laughed and reminded her that Max was registered under my name and I'd paid all his vet bills. She left without him. The divorce itself was pretty quick since we hadn't been married long. Emma didn't fight me on anything financial. I think she felt too guilty. She even signed over her share of the house to me without argument. Her lawyer seemed surprised by that, but Emma just wanted it done fast so she could go play nursemaid to Mark. After Emma moved out, the house felt huge. Way too empty. I threw out all her stuff right in the trash. My mom wanted me to start dating again right away. She kept trying to set me up with daughters of her friends from church. Thanks, but no thanks, Mom. My buddies tried dragging me to bars, saying I needed to get back out there. But honestly, I wasn't ready. The thought of trying to explain my situation to some random woman at a bar. Yeah, my wife left me for her dying ex-boyfriend 2 months after our wedding. Just seemed exhausting. Instead, I threw myself into work. Started taking all the overtime I could get. My boss was actually pretty cool about everything. Let me pick up extra projects to keep my mind busy. Made some decent money too, so that was a plus. But sitting alone in that house every night was killing me. Started having trouble sleeping. Would wake up at 3 in the morning and check my phone, half expecting to see a message from Emma saying this was all some fucked up mistake. Max was a lifesaver during this time. Having him there forced me to keep some kind of routine. Had to get up to walk him. Had to come home at decent hours to feed him. He'd sit with me on the couch while I binged Netflix, probably wondering why I was watching so much Breaking Bad at 2 in the morning. I started doing some home improvements too, just to keep busy. Painted the living room, ripped out the old carpet in the bedroom, installed a new backsplash in the kitchen. Anything to avoid thinking. But the hardest part was dealing with social media. Emma didn't post much about her situation. Guess it's hard to make left my husband for my dying ex look good on Instagram. But mutual friends would share stuff. Pictures of her at dinner with friends, acting like everything was normal. Ashley's posts were the worst. All these cryptic quotes about following your heart, and sometimes life has other plans. I had to block both of them eventually. I lost some friends in the split, too. Couples we used to hang out with started taking sides. Some people thought I was being an asshole for not supporting Emma's difficult choice. Still can't believe that. Others just felt awkward and stopped inviting me to things. That hurt almost as much as the divorce itself. My brother was actually the most helpful during this time. He'd come over with his kids, force me to get out of the house, remind me that there was more to life than heartbreak and regret. Fast forward a couple of months. I was actually doing pretty good. Got promoted at work, bought a new truck, always wanted a Tacoma, and was in the best shape of my life thanks to BJJ. Even started dating a little bit. Nothing serious, but at least I could get through a first date without having a mental breakdown. Then, one random Tuesday afternoon, my phone started blowing up. Notifications going crazy. Vibrating nonstop. At first, I thought it was a work emergency or something. Nope. Emma's number. Hadn't heard from her in over 3 months. At this point, I'd almost managed to erase her from my life. Almost. She's calling, texting, leaving voicemails. I ignored it at first. What the fuck could she possibly want after all this time? Then, I get a text from Lisa, Emma's sister. Now, Lisa and I stayed kind of friendly after everything. She actually apologized to me a couple months after the divorce. Said she couldn't believe how Emma handled everything. So, when she texts saying, "Liam, you really need to hear what Emma has to say. Please," I figured something serious must be up. Against my better judgment, I answer one of Emma's calls on my lunch break. She's hysterical. Barely understand what she's saying through the crying. At first, I thought maybe Mark had finally died. Yeah, I'm an asshole, whatever. But nah! This is so much better. Turns out, Mark never had cancer. Never had any kind of cancer. The whole thing was a lie. This dude faked an entire terminal illness because he saw our wedding photos on Instagram and decided he wanted Emma back. Let that sink in for a minute. He faked everything. The medical reports. His buddy worked at a hospital and helped him forge them. The remote work during his treatment, just an excuse to avoid being seen around town looking perfectly healthy. The whole thing was an elaborate, meticulously crafted scam to get Emma back. You want to know how Emma found out? Pure dumb luck. Mark's sister ran into her at Whole Foods. Started chatting, catching up. Emma mentioned something about Mark's treatment, and the sister had no idea what she was talking about. Turns out, the whole family thought Mark and Emma had just gotten back together. He never told any of them about faking cancer. Emma confronts Mark about it that night. He just laughs. Says, yeah, he made it all up, but it worked, didn't it? Oh, and the best part? He's been dating his coworker, Jessica, for the past 6 months already. Had plans to move to California with her for a new job. He literally looked Emma in the face and said, I needed you back then, but I'm in a better place now. People change. You should move on too. I sat there in my truck, listening to all this. And you know what? The craziest part? I started laughing. Full-on belly laughing. The kind where you can't breathe. The whole thing was just so absurd. This guy managed to blow up a marriage with the most insane lie I've ever heard, and then just moved on like it was nothing. Emma kept saying how sorry she was, how she couldn't believe she fell for it, how she'd ruined everything for nothing. She was crying about how she'd thrown away our marriage for a lie, that she'd never forgive herself, that she'd been so stupid. You know what I said? Yep, that's it. Then I hung up. My phone kept blowing up for hours after that. Emma sent me this novel-length text about how this was a sign that we were meant to work things out, that maybe this was the universe's way of bringing us back together. She's still on that spiritual bullshit, I guess. I didn't respond to any of it. Just drove to the gym, did some rolling, went home, and cracked open a beer with Max. Felt weirdly calm about the whole thing. The next day, all hell broke loose. Turns out, Emma went nuclear. Posted the whole story on Facebook. Tagged Mark, his new girlfriend, everyone. It was like watching a train wreck in real time. The comment section was wild. Mark's girlfriend, Jessica, found out about everything through the Facebook post. Dumped him immediately. His company found out he'd been lying about needing medical leave and fired him. His family was horrified. This dude literally destroyed his entire life just to get back at his ex. The karma was so perfect, it almost felt scripted. But after the whole Facebook nuclear explosion, Emma went into full desperation mode. Started showing up at my work with coffee. She remembered my order, cool, I guess. Sending emails to my work account. Even tried to get my mom to talk to me. Mom shut that down real quick. She never forgave Emma for what she did. After like a week of this, I finally agreed to meet her. Not because I wanted to reconcile or any of that bullshit, but honestly just to get her to stop harassing me and my family. Told her to meet me at this coffee shop downtown. Picked it because I knew it would be busy, and she couldn't make a scene. The moment she walked in, I knew this was going to be rough. She looked rough, like she hadn't slept in days. Wearing one of my old hoodies that she must have kept after moving out. The fuck? Started crying the second she saw me. You guys want to know the first thing she said to me? You look good. Been working out? My response? Yeah. Turns out, getting abandoned by your wife is great motivation for the gym. She didn't appreciate that. But whatever. Then she launched into this whole rehearsed speech about how sorry she was, how she'd never forgive herself, how leaving me was the biggest mistake of her life. Said she thinks about me every day, still keeps pictures of us on her phone, blah blah blah. The whole time she's talking, I'm just sitting there thinking about how I need to pick up dog food on the way home. But here's the part that really got me. She tried to spin this whole thing as proof of how loyal she could be. Said Mark's lie proved she could be. Said it showed she was willing to sacrifice everything for someone she cared about. I almost spit out my coffee. I asked her, straight up, if she was so loyal, why didn't she show that loyalty to her husband? Why didn't she at least verify Mark's story, check his medical records, talk to his doctors? She got all defensive. Said she couldn't believe I was still questioning her intentions after everything. Then, she said that maybe this was all meant to be. That Mark's lie was the universe's way of showing us how strong our love was. That we could start fresh now. Stronger for having gone through this test. I lost it. Again! Told her our marriage wasn't some cosmic test run. That real love doesn't mean abandoning your spouse for your ex. That loyalty isn't something you only show to people who are dying. She tried to grab my hand across the table. Bold move. I pulled back and said, you know what the worst part is, Emma? If Mark had actually been dying, you'd still be with him right now. You're only here because he turned out to be a liar. I'm still your backup plan. That hit her hard. Started doing that thing where she cries but tries to hide it by looking at the ceiling. She always did that during sad movies too. Said I was being cruel. I told her cruel was leaving your husband of 3 months for your ex without even questioning his story. Then she pulled out the big guns. Started talking about how we could go to couples counseling, how she'd spend the rest of her life making it up to me, how she'd prove she could be trusted again. Said she still had her wedding ring and wore it sometimes. Weird flex, but okay. You know what I did? Laughed. Not like a mean laugh. I just couldn't help it. The whole situation was so pathetic. 2 years ago, this woman destroyed me, and now she's sitting here thinking couples counseling could fix it? I told her she needed individual therapy, way more than couples counseling. That she needed to figure out why she was so willing to throw away a marriage for someone who turned out to be a pathological liar. That she needed to work on herself before trying to be with anyone. The conversation ended with her asking if there was any chance for us in the future. I said, Emma, the guy you married died the day you chose Mark. I'm someone else now. Then I got up and left. Got a text from her an hour later saying she'd wait for me and prove herself somehow. Left that on read. Went home, hugged my dog, and ordered a pizza. So, it's been about 4 months since the whole Mark faking cancer show blew up. I was actually starting to feel good about life again. Started dating this awesome girl, Amy, from my gym. She teaches the morning kickboxing classes. We'd been seeing each other for a few weeks. Nothing super serious yet, but definitely heading that way. She's completely different from Emma. Straightforward, no drama. Doesn't believe in all that universe has a plan bullshit. Then, yesterday happened. I was home cooking dinner. Amy was coming over later. I was making her my famous lasagna, a recipe my nana passed down and guaranteed to impress. Then, there was a knock at the door. Emma! Hadn't seen her since the coffee shop confrontation. She looked different. Drawn, pale, a shadow of her former self. Then I realized why. She was pregnant. Like, obviously pregnant? My first thought was, oh, Mark knocked her up before he bailed. That would just be the cherry on top of this whole shit Sunday. But nope. Life isn't that simple. She was holding this envelope, hands shaking. Told me she was 14 weeks along. I did the math in my head. 14 weeks. Right before everything went to shit with Mark. Right before she left. Then she said the words that shattered the last vestiges of my carefully constructed peace. It's yours, Liam. She had a paternity test done already. One of those early blood test things. Showed the results right there. 99.9% probability. I'm the father. She'd been trying to work up the courage to tell me for weeks. I just stood there in my kitchen, holding these test results, while my pregnant ex-wife cried in front of me. And my new girlfriend was on her way over for dinner. Felt like I was having an out-of-body experience, like some surreal nightmare. Emma says she found out right after everything imploded with Mark. She's been going to doctor's appointments alone, didn't tell anyone except her mom. Said she knows this complicates everything, but she thought I had the right to know. The fucked up part? Part of me is actually excited. Like, I always wanted to be a dad. Emma and I had talked about having kids, back when we were actually married. But then I think about everything that happened, about how she left, about Amy. I haven't told Amy yet. Emma just left like an hour ago. I ended up texting Amy, saying I was sick and needed to rain check dinner. Been sitting here with Max just trying to process everything. How the fuck do you even handle something like this? Like, obviously I'm going to be involved in my kid's life. That's not even a question. But co-parenting with someone who abandoned you for their fake dying ex? That's going to be interesting. Plus, there's Amy. How do you tell someone you just started dating that your ex-wife, who left you for her dying ex, is pregnant with your kid? Feels like too much to put on someone this early. Emma wants to talk about things. Says maybe this is a sign we should try again. That a baby changes everything. But does it though? Does it change the fact that she left me for her ex without a second thought? Does it change that she only came back when she found out he was lying? My head is spinning. Max keeps bringing me his toys, like he knows I'm freaking out. Good dog! I honestly don't know what to do. Part of me wants to be excited about becoming a dad. Part of me is terrified of having to deal with Emma for the next 18 plus years. And part of me feels guilty about Amy, who didn't sign up for any of this drama. So, what would you guys do? Seriously, how do you co-parent with someone who broke your trust like this? How do you tell your new girlfriend that, surprise, you're going to be a dad with your ex? How do you make sure you're there for your kid without getting sucked back into Emma's drama? I need a drink. Or 10. It's been a long, agonizing few months. I feel like I've aged a decade. The lines around my eyes are definitely deeper. I catch glimpses of myself in the mirror sometimes, and barely recognized the guy staring back, a roadmap of stress etched into his face. The first thing I did after Emma left that night was call my lawyer, Sarah, the shark. She's been a godsend, honestly. She's seen it all, handled worse, and has this no-nonsense attitude that I desperately needed. No contact with Emma without me present, she'd ordered, her voice firm. Everything goes through me. We're protecting you, and we're protecting your rights as a father. Telling Amy was brutal. I agonized over it for days, replaying different scenarios in my head, trying to find the right way to break the news. There was no right way. I finally sat her down at a quiet corner in our gym after her kickboxing class. She was still flushed from the workout, her hair pulled back in a messy ponytail. She looked so strong, so vibrant. There's something I need to tell you, I started, my voice tight. I told her everything. About Emma, about Mark, about the pregnancy. I didn't sugarcoat anything. I laid it all out there, the ugly truth in all its messy glory. Her face went white. She just stared at me, her eyes wide with shock. I don't even know what to say, she finally stammered. I braced myself for the worst. For her to walk away, to tell me she couldn't handle it. I wouldn't have blamed her. I need some time to process this, she said, her voice barely a whisper. She got up and left. I didn't hear from her for 3 days. 3 days of agonizing silence. I wanted to call her, text her, beg her to talk to me, but Sarah had warned me. Give her space. Let her process. Finally, she called. Can we talk? She asked, her voice hesitant. We met at a park, a neutral territory. We walked in silence for a while, the only sound the rustling of leaves and the distant laughter of children. This is a lot, she finally said, breaking the silence. I'm not going to lie. I'm scared. I don't know what this means for us. I took a deep breath. I understand. And if you need to walk away, I get it. I won't hold it against you. She stopped walking and looked at me, her eyes searching. But I like you, Liam. A lot. And I'm not someone who runs away from a challenge. She paused, and I held my breath. I need to know that you're not still in love with Emma, she said, her voice firm. That this baby doesn't change anything between us? I'm not in love with Emma, I said, without hesitation. What happened? It destroyed something. I'll always care about her because she's going to be the mother of my child. But I'm not in love with her. That ship has sailed. I reached out and took her hand. And this baby, it complicates things, sure. But it doesn't change how I feel about you. She squeezed my hand. Okay, she said, a small smile playing on her lips. Okay. Let's figure this out. It hasn't been easy. Amy is amazing, strong and understanding, and even supports me through the crazy times. Co-parenting with Emma is a delicate dance. We have ground rules, boundaries that Sarah laid out. Everything is.